Good afternoon, Cherries fans, and welcome to this extremely special opposition preview show here on Up the Cherries in all departments. Now, of course, final game of the season is against Everton at Goodison Park. I thought all along that it was going to come down to this, that both Everton and Bournemouth were going to have something to play for. Luckily, we've been on the beach for the past couple of weeks. We secured our safety just after that Crystal Palace game. Of course, Manchester City did it for us actually by beating Everton, of course, Sunday's opponents. But Everton do have something to play for. They're currently, though, in the driving seat. Leicester and Leeds are just below them, though, so any slip up they could capitalise on. Now, it is a pleasure to welcome on a very special guest for this show. My special guest was a member of one of the biggest bands of the 90s. He was part of Ocean Colour Scene, of course, a band that was well known for the Riverboat song, The Day We Caught the Train, the Elben Molesley shows, and of course, the trademark song on TFI Fridays. Of course, that was the Riverboat song. It is a pleasure to welcome on Everton fan and bassist from Ocean Colour Scene, Damon Minchella. Of course, you are an Everton fan,
Yes.
and a big Everton fan at that. Of course, it's not been particularly the greatest season this year.
Yeah.
It hasn't
Put it
been last
mildly.
season. um, Starting the season under Frank Lampard, did you see that it was going to be tough from the beginning?
Yeah, totally. I mean, Frank Lampard was absolutely fantastic in uniting the players with the fan base again at the back ends of the previous season, because that had got so fractured by the ridiculous appointment of Benitez. I mean, come
Yeah.
off it. Allardyce, Benitez, forget it. Particularly Benitez, it was appalling. So bringing in Frank, that was good, but obviously wasn't a great manager. Fantastic footballer. He may become a great manager. He may not. That's probably purely up to him and circumstances. But it was so obvious at the start of the season that it was going to be a struggle, and the fact that we were crying out for at least one centre forward. So instead of buying anybody over the two transfer windows, we just sold people, which is down to the board completely mismanaging the team over. Since Moshiri's takeover, it's been shocking. The team has gone absolutely backwards every season. Hence why it's two relegation battles on the trot. But bearing that in mind, due to my age, I mean, Everton have won the league 3 times since I've been alive, 2 FA Cups and a European Cup. So I am used to where we should be, which makes where we are even worse. Not that we've got a divine right, but it's been coming for so long. No centre forwards again. So on Sunday, we haven't got a centre forward unless we put Sims on. Who's good, but he's still learning his trade. He was at Sunderland on loan. So the fact that a club that our historical sides and who spent so much money literally do not have a replacement for Calvert-Lewin is quite frankly pathetic. So we knew it was going to be a struggle for Frank, and that was unfair for him, because if Calvert-Lewin had been fit for all those first half of the season, we'd probably be mid-table, because all we're lacking is goals. All we're lacking is goals. But you know what I mean. Sort of defensive midfield is generally up to scratch to some degree. So it was obvious it was going to be difficult, and they delayed getting rid of Frank. They should have done it while the World Cup was on, because that was the perfect time to bring in a replacement manager who's got 8 weeks.
Yeah.
To look at what he's got, or he or she has got. So now we've got Big Sean, who's much more. He's whatever his limitations may or may not be, he's actually a manager with experience. Because the Palace game last season, that was 45 minutes of disaster followed by 45 minutes of, oh my God, we're going to be all right. That wasn't down to the management. That was just down to the circumstances in those 45 minutes on the pitch. So yeah, Frank, lovely person, I have met him as well. Very nice person.
Yeah.
Terrible manager, I think. May become fantastic. But yeah, we knew it was going to be a horrible struggle.
Of course, Frank Lampard was there until about the 23rd, I believe, of January, before Sean Dyche took over right at the end. Do you feel that that's a little bit of mismanagement as well by Bill Kenwright and Farhad Moshiri to let Frank have the whole of the transfer window and then bring Sean Dyche in right at the end?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of symptomatic of the way Everton appears to be run from, from at the highest level. Not to do with the individual players who all do their best, and whoever the manager is and coach staff, they're all doing their best. But
Yeah.
the cards they're being given are completely a mess. Because said, okay, if the board are thinking of getting rid of Frank, you do it as soon as the World Cup starts.
Yeah.
You've got 6, 7, 8 weeks. Let's not do that. Let's wait till the very end of the January transfer window. Bring in nobody, change manager. You've got a new manager. It's got no money and no time.
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't run a restaurant like that, would you?
No.
We've lost all our customers. The chef's terrible. Let's keep going with the shame chef and the terrible menu, because customers are bound to come back at some point. Well, they won't. Well, they say you change things. So it is. It literally defies sense.
It didn't make sense for me after we beat you at Dean Court,
Oh,
4-1 in the cup, 3-0 in the league.
I
Of
know.
course, fans are unhappy. It made sense to make the cut then. But there has been a significant improvement under Sean Dyche. What has he done to actually change it from that game, which I'm going to be honest, Damon, so far this season, well, the entire season, Everton are the worst side we've played at home.
Oh yeah, those 2 games was literally anybody with half a brain and some eyes who was in charge of Everton would have gone, he's got to go. That's it.
Yeah.
Should have gone before then, to be fair. But yeah, well, what Sean Dyche has done is given the team some self-belief and tactics.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm friends with a couple of old Everton players who get a lot of inside knowledge. It's not just rumours, it's actually what goes on. And like Frank would give no one any tactics. He would say to Michael Keane, I can't help you, you're too old. Whereas then Dyche comes in and organises the team. It's the basics of football, reinstates the basics of football. I mean, we're not talking like some revolutionary overlapping centre-backs running down the wing. It's just like the basics of football. Play the ball in, not 2 feet, but into space, get on the turn, etc., etc. Look for the pass going out wide. All that usual sort of stuff you'd learn as a kid was so lacking in those 2 Bournemouth games. The fact you've and it was a sheer fear from the players where they would always play the most boring 5-yard sideways pass.
Yeah.
But play it with such trepidation that the opposing team would know what they're about to do before they've done it and be able to intercept it. At least now, in most games, like the Brighton game, that's where everything clicked into position. And these are the same players that Frank had. It's just a belief and a will to get the job done and to actually not to be brave on the ball. We're just this isn't revolution. But we were appalling those 2 games. But as Evertonians, we still believe. We always have. It's some weird sort of. It's like a man who keeps walking into the same lamppost. Go, next time we'll walk at the lamppost, the lamppost will move. It's not going to.
I was going to bring up that 5-1 win against Brighton because nobody saw that coming at all. Brighton have got themselves into Europe now, but nobody saw that coming. And that game, how good were Everton? And was it a case that they were just playing at their complete maximum and have struggled to match that ever since? Because, of course, there was the 1-1 draw against Wolves at the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's because calvert-lewin had just come back as well. So what we had been blindly, obviously lacking was that focal point. So, and having a fit calvert-lewin or any fit number 9 worth their salt. Doesn't have to be calvert-lewin, could be anybody, which is not Neil Maupay and it's not Ellis Sims yet. I have high hopes eventually he will become a great number 9. But it was having that central figure that we know what we've got a get out ball. If we're being too tightly pressed, we can go long to someone who is going to win it in the air.
Yeah.
So then you have the belief of the runners off him, whether it's Iwobi or Neil or Demarai Gray, whoever. It doesn't really matter at this stage. So Phil Calvert-Lewin gave the team a focal point, and we were playing our absolute best. And we were also playing a team that thought they would beat us. We're always better against teams that think they're better than us. We always seem to play really well against teams that are higher in the league against us. Teams that we should beat. Well, I mean, now we're always right down the bottom, so that's pretty much anybody. But, sort of, say we're, like, I don't know, we're playing a Fulham or a Leicester. Oh, we should be all right against them. We always play terrible. When we go up against better teams, it's almost like we play better because it's the psychology of thinking, well, we're going to lose anyway, so we may as well go for it, as opposed to, and we don't have to break teams down. Teams that are like a lot of possession, we're much better against that, because where you're definitely not a possession-based team, because after 3 or 4 passes, everyone starts to panic.
Of course, the club have recorded losses of 370 million plus over 3 years, which is concerning. And I've seen a couple of tweets out there from Evertonians saying that if Everton survive, it's prolonging the inevitable. But there is buyouts, talk of buyouts at the moment. How concerning is that? And if the buyouts happen, of course, Bramley Dock is being built. How much of that 370 million is attributed to the Bramley Dock move?
Certain elements of it, I do actually, and I can't go into any details at all.
No, of course.
A business partner of someone I'm really close to is involved with the potential takeover and buyout. I know who it is. I know how much they're putting in. I know what amount of shares Moshiri is selling, and I also know the bank that is underwriting finishing Bramley Moor, which is then obviously going to create more debt. But that's debt for new majority shareholders. So that's their debt as opposed to the club's debt, because that debt is against their shares. So that to me makes it very positive that we will stay up, obviously, hopefully.
Yeah.
Please do us a favour on Sunday. And it'd be really good if Bournemouth players and Bournemouth fans turn up on Monday.
Yeah.
Get the day wrong. It's fine. Come the day after. It's fine.
Be on the beach.
You'll be very, very warmly welcomed to L4 if you turn up on the wrong day. My view of the future is probably not as bleak as a lot of Evertonians, because I do have a bit of insider knowledge. But of course, then the new majority shareholders, when they do take over, then you're in the position of like, how long will they stay? What are they like as football people? It's like you look at Chelsea. If Mr. Bowley pulls out, they are gone. Their financial situation is abysmal compared to ours, because they are reliant on one infrastructure run by one particular person who may decide to cut their losses. And that club can't then be sold again for that huge amount of billions, because no one's going to touch it. So there's always that danger with anything with football, when there's a huge amount of money and it adheres around a small group of people. If they want to pull out, because these are business people who are very rich for a very specific reason, is they're really tight with their money. There's all these massive figures going around, but they manipulate this money to make more money. Eventually they will go. So Chelsea were very lucky after Abramovich had to go that someone came in, because at any given moment, a lot of the clubs who are in the top 2 tiers could fall to pieces if if the ownership model decides they don't want it anymore. So that was a very long answer to. I'm not as fearful as most Evertonians. Though I'm still sceptical of everything, because I'm a true Evertonian as well, because that lamppost is still in front of me.
Well, fingers crossed everything is sorted on that front. Will Evertonians miss the old lady once
Oh
you do
my
move?
God. It's going to be appalling when we leave.
Hmm.
On so many emotional levels. One of my best mates' ashes, I scattered his ashes at the church at Goodison St. Luke's.
Hmm.
I used to go there with my dad, who's no longer with us. I went when I was first match when I was 6 with my dad. I used to go with one of my best mates who sadly died of cancer, and as I said, his ashes are at the church at Goodison Park. I took my son when he was 6. So it's
Yeah.
not just that; it's all the memories of everything that's of your entire life has a blue thing running through it, which is attached to Goodison Park. So when we leave, we go to this brand new, beautiful stadium, fantastic. But I've been to the Etihad. It's not as good as
Hmm.
Main Road. Main Road is way better. So the new
Yeah.
stadiums tend to be quite soulless in comparison. You know,
Yep.
the facilities are better, but no one's ever gone to a football match. I'm going to support that team because they've got really good toilets.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
it's not to do with that.
To be honest, Goodison is amazing ground. One of my favourite grounds
Yeah.
to go to as well. It's just the atmosphere, the whole feel of the place. You know that you're in an old ground and in a club with a lot of history as well.
Yeah.
Um, Before I let you go, one thing we do need to do is predict this game.
Tough.
Um, so, Damon,
Mm.
how do you reckon this is going to go?
Hang on a second. As a lapsed Catholic, massive Everton victory. We're going to batter Bournemouth 1-0. Tarkowski header in the 80. I'm going to go for the 81st minute from a Dwight McNeil corner. Will put us 1-0 up, which then will mean we'll be absolutely dying of fear for the remaining sort of 9 minutes. And then the ref's going to, their fourth official's going to put up the board, and it's going to go 27 minutes of injury time. Well, we're. Yeah, we got to win, really. We don't have to win to
Yeah,
stay up if Leeds and Leicester carry on their trajectory, but that's not the way you look at it. We just got to win. And I've always loved Bournemouth. They're my second team.
yeah,
They're going to do us a favour, aren't you, Bournemouth? And if
exactly.
any of the Bournemouth players and manager are going to listen to this, please don't. No, well, I think we'll win. And quite frankly, if we can't beat you lot, who's have really nothing to play for at home in the most important game in the club's recent history, then we deserve to go down. If the team can't get up for that with, nigh on 40,000 Evertonians kicking every ball for them, then the inevitable, that lamppost will eventually knock you over. But I think we'll win. It's going to be
Personally,
utterly horrible. I mean, I missed the night 4 game against Wimbledon because I was in Italy at the time.
yeah.
The Palace game last season, I was actually down in Crystal Palace at a recording studio, which was a very odd place to be. But I
Yeah,
was at the 98 game against Coventry when we needed to not lose to stay up.
yeah,
That was horrendous, and then the euphoria was incredible. So I actually do have tickets as well for Sunday, so I'm going to be there.
excellent stuff.
I know. So it's either going to be, and it's quite a long way to get back to where I live as well, because I live in Wales, South Wales. So it's either going to be the nicest trip home ever or the worst.
I've got to be honest. I think you will win, and I
Thank
think
you.
it will be. Do you know what? I think 2-0. I think actually 2-0.
Okay.
I think you'll get an early goal. That'll settle the crowd. Like you say, the Goodison Park crowd are going to be behind Everton. It's going to be hostile. It's
Yeah.
going to be difficult for Bournemouth. I've said it all along, said it all season that I thought it was going to come down to this for both
Mm-hmm.
clubs. Now we're safe. I can only see one winner in this, to be honest. But yeah, we will be seeing you next season, Damon.
I bloody well hope so.
Yeah. And you never know. Of course, the last trophy that was won, 1995, the FA Cup final against Manchester United. Paul Rideout scored in that game. Can those days come back?
Oh, easily. A cup win, yeah, of course it can.
Yeah.
I mean, the days of us being anywhere near challenging for the title would only be if we go down.
Yeah.
And then we're challenging for, League One
Yeah.
winners. As, cups, excuse me, cups, yeah. But, unless there's some breakaway from the top six and they form some European Super League, then the best of the rest, we might have a chance. But yeah. I'd take top flight stages and an FA Cup would be delightful. It'd be really good for my son, who's almost 18. He's been supporting Everton all his life. He hasn't witnessed nothing apart from despair. Yet he still believes. At least I've had 3 league titles and a couple of two FA Cups and a European Cup to celebrate, even though they were all quite a long time ago. But, my memory's still okay.
Yeah, fair enough. No, thank you so much for coming on, Damon. It has been an absolute pleasure to speak to you. All the very, very best in whatever you do next. What's on the agenda for Damon Minchella?
Back into the studio, got producing some records, got some gigs with Ashcroft, and I need to mow the lawn. Because I've got to mow the lawn before Sunday as well. At least that's something out the way, so I don't have to think about that when I'm on my way up to Goodison Park.
Fair enough. Well, all the very, very best. You
Thanks,
never know. Hopefully, we'll do this next season. I'm sure
we will, and
we will do.
When we're both in the FA Cup final, and we've just had a really dull draw in the Premier League.
FA Cup final, Bournemouth.
Yeah,
who would have thought that? Damon, absolute pleasure, and thank you so much, mate.
Right.
Cheers.
Enjoy, but don't enjoy Sunday.
Yeah. And thank you everybody for joining us on this show. Please remember to hit the like, the subscribe, and the bell button below to be alerted to any new videos we do here on Up the Cherries in all departments. Please also do check out our recent shows as well. We've had Benjamin Bloom on talking about the teams that might be joining the Premier League. Will it be Coventry? Will it be Luton? By the time we do play Everton at Goodison Park, we'll know who that is. We do also have our cherry picking show. Also, do check out our other interviews. We had Kendall Rowan on talking about Newcastle, and of course, Eddie Howe and Jason Tyndall. He's still a centre of attention. Don't worry, everybody. He's still there. But until the next show, thank you for joining us this season, and all the very, very best. Up the Cherries.